Hey, this is Tim from iFun X-Wings, and today I'm collaborating with T-Motors and we'll be showing you how to solder up a T-Motor powertrain system. Let's go. Okay, so before we begin, let's briefly discuss what components are required within a powertrain system. You're going to need majorly three things. In the powertrain system, you're going to first need some motors, of course, and you're going to need some stacks. So a stacks is going to contain a flight controller and a 4-in-1 electric speed controller, and we often refer to FC and the ESC as a stack. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to use the most budget-friendly stack from T-Motor website, which is the F411 LITE. And as for the motors, we're going to use the 2306 version 3 1915 kV motors, and you can also get the 2207 motors, which should be the same cost and the performance should be somewhat similar. As for the frame, because T-Motor doesn't have any frames that they're selling individually, we're going to use the Flyfish RC Velodur 2 VD5 frame to become our base. Okay, so this one you won't be able to get it from T-Motor website, but these you can. Okay, so let's look at what is in the box of the flight controller. Within the box, you're going to get a flight controller, and you're going to get a electric speed controller, and you're going to get a XD60 cable and some gummies and a capacitor. Okay, so in today's video, all the soldering is going to happen on the electric speed controller, and we shouldn't have to do anything to the flight controller today. And once you're done, all you have to do is to connect the little cable that came with it to the ESC and the flight controller, and everything should work once you're done. This is how simple it is. Okay, so we're going to start prepping our ESC and our FC by adding the little gummies that came with it. You're going to pick up your little gummies with a little tweezer, and you're going to kind of squeeze it really flat, and you're going to squeeze it in like this. Okay, we're done. We can start the soldering. Okay, so the next step we're going to solder up. We're going to connect the power cable and the capacitor. And the only pad we're going to solder right now is this two pads. So the plus and the minus. So the plus is going to be the red one, which is hot. The minus is going to be the black one, which is going to be ground. And same for this one. You can see there is a minus sign here. So the minus one is going to go here. Okay, so let's begin. And make sure you pull out this biggest iron tip you have, because this pad is going to take a lot of heat for you to heat up the big ball of solder, and you're also going to need some flux. Okay, so let's start by preparing the solder surface. We're going to power up our iron. Make sure you power up your iron to the highest degree. I typically just go to 450. We're going to prep our board by putting on some flux. Okay, and we're going to bring out our tin. We're going to wet iron a bit. We're going to start feeding the solder iron onto the board. Give a generous amount of it because you're going to need quite some to connect the wires. Let's do it again. Okay, let's prep our wires. You're gonna bring out your helping hand so you can clip the wire, at least just to make sure it sticks as one place. Same drill. You're gonna wet your tip a bit, and you're going to put your iron on top of the wire and start feeding solder in. Once we have completed the preparation for prepping the wires in the ESC solder pads, we can begin to connect them both together. You can use your helping hand to clip the cable to somewhere that is secure, so the cable is just directly right in front of the solder pads. And you're going to use your iron to press and hold the soldering joints so it can joint together. Okay. All right, second one. Okay, so we are going to pause here for just a few seconds because the soldering joints are not perfect. So there are two main reasons. So number one, if you look at this one, it's almost to a point that it's a cold solder. And number two, all the solder seems to be beaten up. It's not round, it's not smooth. So I'm going to show you how to fix it. To fix this problem, our main savior will be our flux. You're going to put a lot of flux on the joints and you're going to crank your iron to the highest temperature it goes, because essentially the reason why it's not connecting properly is either missing flux or either missing temperature. Okay, because I already tucked my wiring, so I'm going to show you with a different flight controller, but essentially it's the same. We're going to start by adding a lot of flux. You can see that this amount of flux may seem a lot, but it's going to better help the solder goes to where it's supposed to go and fix some of the unevenness of the soldering joints. And now we're going to put the pen onto the solder joints. You're just going to heat it up. You're not going to press. You're not going to do much. And you can see that all the flux are burning out and the surface is slightly better than before. And let's just do a little bit more touching so it can be a little bit more perfect. You can see that. Okay, so this is what we want: a better, smoother soldering surface. And also we can make sure that this is not a cold solder, because cold solder is the last thing we want. Let's head back to the main video. Next, we're going to solder up the capacitor. Let's bring out our frame so we can put the ESC on top of it, as it creates additional support so it doesn't move around like we used to. Okay, same drill. We are going to put some flux onto the pads, and you're going to prep the surface by adding some solder onto it. You're going to bring out a capacitor. Make sure you solder it to the right location, so plus to plus, minus to minus. You're just going to gently press and hold. That's the same method. Okay, it shouldn't take a lot of solder for it to hold because it's just a small little thing, right? Okay, we're going to bend it a little bit to the place we want. Just make sure you don't bend it to the point that it breaks. Okay, same drill, press and hold. Okay, we are done. Next, we're going to take up the ESC and we're going to flip it around to the right direction. Okay, so our step one has been completed, and we're just going to bring out a smoke stopper at this stage to check to see if there are any shorts in our soldering, because short is the last thing we want. So if there's a short, this thing is going to beep and turn red. So plug in the battery and it seems to be okay, so we should be fine. All right, let's keep on going to the next step. Okay, so to connect the motors, we're going to just start by just simply taking them out of the box, and we can turn off our iron since we're not gonna need it for a while. Okay, take out the screws at this side. Okay, we're just going to start screwing these in onto the arms. So this is very, very simple. And I'm just going to show you one because the rest are going to be the same. Okay. once the first two is in there, it's easy. Okay. Okay, we are done, and I'm just gonna put in the rest. Okay, so once all the motors are on the frame, it's going to look like this. And we'll be soldering up these motors onto the ESC. And we're going to look at the ESC pads. So you can see that they are marks of ABCs, A, B, and C, A, B, and C right here. So each 3 pads essentially means one individual ESC, since this is a 4-in-1, right? So your motor, the first wire should go to A, the second wire should go to B, and the third wire should go to C. You can, of course, you can solder it backwards. You can put the third wire on A and second wire on B and the first wire on C. But you're just going to probably have a different motor direction, which is quite problematic. So we're just going to solder it based on the sequence, so you don't have to deal with it later in the software. Okay, let's begin. Okay, so before we begin the soldering, we're going to cut these wires to the same length of the solder pads. So we're not going to have floppy wires. Okay, so we're going to cut it one by one. Just make sure you pull the right one. Don't cut the wrong one. Bend it a little bit, and we're going to cut it just like that. Make sure you leave a little bit in the tip so you get to, when you strip it, you still have a little bit out there that you can use it. Okay, let's do the second one. This one is going to be B. We're going to do it one by one so we don't get confused. Here. And this one goes here. Okay. And next, we're going to take our wire strippers. We are going to make a little strip of it so we get to solder it on. This one should be this one. Let's see. Okay. Nope. Do it again, it's not enough. Seems to be just right. Okay. Let's try to fit this again. Just right. This one again. Yeah, a little bit too much, but you can cut it off later. Okay, so we're just going to solder this first one so you know how to do it, and you can finish the rest later by yourself. Same drill, we're going to prep these wires. We are going to put on some flux as a default, so here a little bit, here a little bit. So flux. Give me some generous flux. And then our solder pen are heat up. We're just gonna clean it first. And we're gonna wet the tip. And you're gonna start prepping the wires by putting solder onto the cable. Make sure we're not gonna mix these up. Next, we're going to prep the pads. Let's clean it again. Make sure we don't burn our gummies. And we are done. Okay. The next step, we're going to use our little tweezer, or we're going to burn our hand. Okay, make sure you're soldering at the right sequence. One wire done, 2 to go. Alright. Okay, so this is how you solder your first motor, and you just have to finish the rest. There's one more thing that we have to do, which we are going to have to test to see if there are any shorts. So same, we're going to bring out our short saver, and we're just going to plug in the quad as usual, like that, and we are going to bring our battery and we are going to plug it in. Let's see. Alright, we're having the beep, so it should work. Let's go test it on BetaFlight. Okay, so we're going to bring our quad to our computer, and you're going to plug it in via a USB cable. And you should hear a connection sound. And once everything is connected, we are going to launch BetaFlight, and you are going to hit connect. And the first time you enter BetaFlight, it might ask you to calibrate a accelerometer, and we're just going to hit calibrate. Just make sure you put it on the level surface, and we're going to the motors tab. And in the motors tab, we are going to test our motor to see if we soldered the powertrain system correctly. And at this time, you're going to plug in your battery. Just make sure there are no props. and you're not powering up with a short saver, otherwise your short saver is going to burn. Okay, so once you powered it up, we are going to hit I understand the risk, and you are going to bring up the master, and if you install everything correctly, all your motors should spin. Let's give it a try. Alright, so all our motors are spinning, so this is a successful powertrain installation. Okay, so in today's video, we went over how to solder up a powertrain system. And probably from the solder joints, you can see my soldering work is not the most perfect in the world. In fact, this is my second time installing something like this, so if I can do it, I think you can do it as well. It's really not that hard. I guess this wraps us up this video. And if you have additional questions or if you have any interest on this system, I would strongly suggest you to join the T-Motor Facebook group, as you can find so much help from there, or you can just come find me at my channel below. I will be more than happy to help as well. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.